What if this generation was the one spoken of by prophets thousands of years ago? What if the signs of Jesus' return weren't hidden, but simply ignored? For centuries, Christians have watched and waited, hearing preachers declare, "The Lord is coming soon." And over time, many stopped listening. But what if the silence was broken? What if right now the pieces of prophecy were falling into place, and we are living in the very season Jesus warned us about? This video is not about date setting. It's not about fear-mongering. It's about understanding the signs, clear, biblical, and undeniable signs that point to a divine timeline. Today, we're going to explore the prophetic puzzle that reveals how close we really are to Jesus' second coming. Let's dive in. In Luke 12:56, Jesus rebuked the crowd, saying, "You know how to interpret the appearance of the earth and the sky. How is it that you don't know how to interpret this present time?" He wasn't frustrated because they didn't know weather patterns. He was grieved because they had prophecies in their hands and still didn't recognize the Messiah standing before them. Then in Luke 19:44, he weeps over Jerusalem and says, "Because you did not recognize the time of your visitation, your enemies will build an embankment against you and crush you to the ground." Jesus held them accountable for not knowing the season of his first coming. Shouldn't we expect the same accountability regarding his return? He warned us again in Matthew 24:42, "Therefore keep watch, because you do not know on what day your Lord will come." Watching is not passive. Watching is active. It means we study, discern, and live prepared, not in fear, but in faith. Let's go back, way back, to the Old Testament. In Daniel 9:24-27, the angel Gabriel gives the prophet Daniel a vision of 70 weeks, or 490 years, decreed for Israel. These years would cover key events, including the rebuilding of Jerusalem, the coming of the Messiah, and ultimately the end of sin and ushering in of everlasting righteousness. Here's where it gets incredible. The prophecy stated that from the decree to rebuild Jerusalem to the coming of the Anointed One would be 69 weeks of years, or 483 years. That decree was issued by King Artaxerxes in 444 BC, Nehemiah 2:1-8. Using the Jewish 360-day calendar, 483 years later brings us to around AD 33, the exact time Jesus entered Jerusalem before his crucifixion. But there's still 1 week, 7 years, remaining. That last 7-year period is what we know as the tribulation, detailed in the book of Revelation. The prophecy pause began when Messiah was cut off, and we've been living in the pause ever since. That clock? It's about to start ticking again. Jesus gave clear indicators for the generation that would see his return. In Matthew 24, he warned of wars and rumors of wars, famines and earthquakes in various places, false prophets deceiving many, lawlessness increasing, and the love of many growing cold. Sounds familiar? Global conflict is escalating. Natural disasters are breaking records. False teachings are growing in popularity. And the cultural definition of morality? Completely redefined. In 2 Timothy 3:1-5, Paul adds, "In the last days people will be lovers of themselves, proud, abusive, disobedient to parents, without self-control, brutal, not lovers of the good." It's as if Scripture was reading the headlines of today's world. But the most chilling sign may be this. 2 Thessalonians 2:3 warns, "Let no one deceive you in any way, for that day will not come unless the rebellion comes first." The Greek word here is apostasia, a falling away, a departure from truth. And we are living through it. Church attendance is plummeting, biblical literacy is at an all-time low, and surveys now show that millions have walked away from the Christian faith, especially in the West. But why? Paul gives the answer in 2 Thessalonians 2:10-11. They perish because they refuse to love the truth. For this reason, God sends them a powerful delusion. This isn't just a lack of information, it's a rejection of truth. Apathy has replaced urgency. Toleration has replaced transformation. And emotional comfort has replaced spiritual conviction. This deception is so strong, Jesus warned in Matthew 24:24, that if possible, even the elect would be deceived. Another sign is described in 2 Thessalonians 2:7, for the mystery of lawlessness is already at work. Lawlessness isn't just political corruption or crime, it's spiritual rebellion. It's the refusal to submit to God's authority. Today we've seen the normalization of things the Bible calls sin. Not just in the world, but in the church. Sexual immorality is rebranded as identity. Greed is celebrated as success. Preaching on holiness is considered judgmental. Jesus said in Matthew 7:13-14 that the road is narrow and few will find it. But today, the road is being widened in the name of inclusivity, and people are wandering from truth. Jude 1:18-19 echoes this. In the last time there will be scoffers who follow their own ungodly desires. They do not have the Spirit. When people abandon God's moral order, spiritual blindness follows. But here's the good news. Jesus didn't just say these things to scare us. He told us so we could endure. In Matthew 24:13, he said, "He who endures to the end will be saved." Endurance is about faithfulness under pressure. It's not flashy and it's not always loud, but it's unshakable. Hebrews 10:23 encourages us. Let us hold fast the confession of our hope without wavering, for he who promised is faithful. So how do we endure? Stay rooted in Scripture. Surround yourself with believers who sharpen your faith. Reject compromise. And above all, love the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. 1 Peter 1:13 reminds us to gird up the loins of your mind, meaning prepare yourself for spiritual battle. The season is shifting. We can't afford to be passive. Romans 13:11 says, "The hour has come for you to wake up from your slumber, because our salvation is nearer now than when we first believed." This is not the time to hit snooze. This is the time to rise, to pray like never before, to live with urgency, to speak truth boldly, to walk in holiness daily, because the King is coming, not in a manger this time, but with fire in his eyes and a crown on his head. And when he returns, may he find us ready, not sleeping, not compromising, but watching, because he told us exactly what to look for, and now we see it.